High in the mountains where the world touches the sky, where oxygen thins and silence feels ancient, a ghost moves. Not a supernatural being, but something far more real. For centuries, locals whispered about a creature rarely seen but deeply feared, an animal so quiet, so elusive, that they called it the ghost of the mountains. Today, scientists know it by another name, the snow leopard. But this isn't just a story about an animal. It's a story about survival against impossible odds, about mystery, about a creature perfectly engineered by nature to live where few living things can. And it's about one extraordinary snow leopard whose life nearly changed the entire understanding of her species. So sit tight, because once you step into these mountains, you're entering a world where every breath is a battle. Every step is dangerous, and every night hides a predator designed by evolution itself. Our story begins on the wind-carved slopes of the Pamir Mountains, where temperatures can drop below -30 degrees Celsius and blizzards erase entire landscapes in minutes. Under a rocky overhang, a snow leopard named Siran gave birth to 2 cubs. Snow leopards are born blind, helpless, and about the size of a small loaf of bread. Yet even then, they carry one of the most powerful weapons in the animal kingdom, their tail. A snow leopard's tail can be nearly as long as its body, thick, heavy, and flexible. It works as a balance bar for climbing cliffs, a blanket to wrap around their face when temperatures plunge, a shock absorber during 50-foot leaps, and for cubs like Siran's, a lifeline they cling to when frightened. But despite their adaptations, less than 40% of snow leopard cubs survive their first year. The mountains are beautiful, but they are merciless. Food is scarce, cliffs are deadly. Predators roam. Even the cold can be a killer. Yet Siran was no ordinary mother. When her cubs reached 3 months old, Siran led them to a ridge overlooking a herd of blue sheep, the snow leopard's favorite prey. Now, if you've never seen a snow leopard hunt, imagine watching gravity break its own rules. Unlike lions or tigers, snow leopards don't chase. They appear. They rise from rocks where their spotted coats blend perfectly with stone. They move silently, pads covered in fur that muffles every sound. They creep up cliffs steeper than staircases. Siran crouched, her tail lifted, her muscles coiled. And then she leapt. Snow leopards can jump 6 times their body length. In a single bound, Siran covered almost 40 feet, landing on the blue sheep with the force of a crashing avalanche. For her cubs watching from above, it was the moment they understood what they were born to be. For centuries, scientists struggled to study snow leopards. They blend into their habitat so well that even experienced trackers could spend years without seeing one in the wild. But Siran would change that. A team of researchers had been placing remote motion sensor cameras throughout the region. For months, their footage showed nothing but wind and snow. Then, one morning, as the lead researcher scrolled through data, he froze. There she was. A snow leopard, powerful, graceful, silent, walking across the screen as if she owned the mountain. In later footage, they recognized her again and again. The same pattern. The same tail curve. They named her Siran, meaning mystery in a local dialect. From then on, she became one of the most documented wild snow leopards ever recorded. For all her beauty, Siran lived with one deadly rival, the Himalayan wolf. Stronger in packs and bold in hunger, these wolves were known to steal kills, harass leopards, and even attack cubs. One evening, as Siran dragged a freshly killed ibex toward her den, she sensed them. 3 wolves stood on the ridge, eyes glowing. Snow leopards rarely fight wolves directly. They're fast but light, built for ambush, not combat. But Siran wasn't backing down. Her cubs were waiting. She bared her teeth and roared, a sound rarely heard by humans. Snow leopards don't roar like lions. Instead, their roar is a deep, rumbling rasp, something ancient, like stone grinding against stone. the wolves circled. Then Siran did something unexpected. She dropped the carcass and sprinted toward them, not to fight, but to fake charge, a tactic snow leopards use only when desperate. Surprised, the wolves scattered. Siran returned to her kill and dragged it home. Her cubs survived another night. When the cubs reached 9 months, snow leopards face a crucial test: learning to navigate vertical terrain. These mountains are brutal. One wrong paw placement can mean a 200-foot fall. One morning, Siran led them across a narrow ledge carved by centuries of wind so thin it looked like a crack on the mountainside. Halfway across, the younger cub slipped. He slid, rocks tumbled, snow cascaded downward. In an instant, Siran lunged, pinning him with her paw. But now she was sliding. With all her strength, she shoved her cub back up the ledge. She fell. For a moment, she dangled over empty air, claws digging into the stone. Then, using her immense tail for balance, she twisted her body and flung herself upward, landing back on the ledge with breathtaking precision. This was evolution in action. This was a creature built to defy mountains. And then Siran disappeared. Remote cameras stopped detecting her. Tracks vanished. Researchers feared the worst. Snow leopards can roam territories of 500 square miles, but sudden disappearance often means death. Poaching, starvation, avalanches. Months passed. Winter deepened. The ghost of the mountains had become a ghost once more. It was late winter when a scientist checking cameras froze in disbelief. On the screen walked Siran, older, scarred, thinner but alive, and behind her were 2 new cubs. Against all odds, she had survived. She had hunted, lived, and given birth again in one of the harshest environments on Earth. But there was something else, something never captured before on film. One cub was unusually pale, almost white. Not an albino, but a snow leopard with ghost morph coloration. An incredibly rare genetic trait that scientists had debated for years, but never conclusively documented. Siran had just solved a scientific mystery, and she had done it simply by living. Siran's story changed everything. Her footage helped map snow leopard migration routes, identify poaching hotspots, understand how climate change affects mountain predators, discover inherited coat morphs previously unknown, reveal snow leopard maternal behavior rarely seen before. Her cubs grew strong. Her lineage spread beyond the Pamirs, and her images inspired global conservation efforts that help protect thousands of square miles of snow leopard habitat. Today, researchers still don't know what happened to Siran after her last sighting. Perhaps she lived out her days roaming the peaks. Perhaps she still walks those cliffs, unseen, blending into stone and snow. But one thing is certain: when the wind is quiet, when the mountains grow still, and a shadow slips silently across the ridge, people still whisper, "The ghost is watching."